In the United States, Donald Trump must take a long, hard look in the mirror. Don't worry, we are not talking about Trump's hair. We are in fact talking about a new survey spanning 13 countries. The results suggest that the world is losing faith in the United States, and it seems the president is largely to blame. Let's get some more details then, and I'm joined by ENCA's Michael Marillier, who is unpacking that. So there's been a study about world views, the views of various countries about America. What are you seeing from that study?
So, Tullis, this is really interesting because most of these countries would be regarded as allies of the United States. So we're talking about countries in Western Europe, the UK, Canada, which of course is America's neighbor, Japan, South Korea. Historically, all of these countries have great relations with the US, but we're seeing a major shift this year in terms of the perceptions of the US. I'm going to take a look at some of those countries and show you how the views have actually changed over the last year, Tullis. And it seems COVID and the COVID crisis is playing a big role. Let's take a look at those numbers. We'll start with Japan, Tullis. So in 2019, 68% of Japanese respondents had a positive view of the United States. This year, it's fallen all the way down to 41%, so a drop of 27 points in Japan. If we focus on Australia, again, a strong ally of the US, last year, 50% had a positive view. We've seen a drop of 17 percentage points over the past 12 months. Staggering drops in all of these countries. As I mentioned, Canada shares a border with the United States, but it doesn't seem to share many of the same values. Take a look at this. 2019, 51% of Canadians had a positive view. That's down now to 35%, so just over 1/3. And then finally, Tullis, if we focus on a European country, Germany, 39% last year. It's plummeted to 26% in 2020. So it seems the crises in the United States are really taking a toll when it comes to the views around the world. Some people might say, well, it's the view of the United States, not necessarily the US president. But we've got some other data which might tell a different story. Let's focus on that very quickly as we bring up our next graphic, Tullis. And what we're looking at here is how people around the world viewed the leaders of certain countries. So 76% of respondents had confidence in the German leader, that's Angela Merkel. She, of course, is the German Chancellor. 64% said they had confidence in the French leader, that's Emmanuel Macron. So in terms of the UK, Boris Johnson doesn't look very happy in this photograph. Maybe that's because he only got 48% in terms of people saying they were confident in his leadership. Vladimir Putin, Tullis, got 23%. By the way, today is Vladimir Putin's birthday, so not such a happy birthday, I suppose, for the Russian leader. Chinese leader Xi Jinping, 19%. And I guess you can see where we're going here, Tullis, because Donald Trump finished right at the bottom of the pile. 16% of respondents expressing confidence in America's president. But it's not just the world which has its doubts about Trump. In fact, members of his own family say he shouldn't get a second term. Let's listen now to Donald Trump's niece speaking on Gareth Cliff's show, So What Now?
In other words, you don't want to see a second term.
I do. I think it would be disastrous for my country and for pretty much the rest of the world.
A lot of his fans say that the one thing that they know for sure about him is that he's a lover of America. You don't think that's true?
I think it's patently obvious that it's not true, and there's so much evidence of that at this point that it takes a special kind of delusion to think otherwise. And I'm not being flip about that. I think there's so much that he's done and said over the last 3.5 years that completely undermines that position, that I wish people would be more straightforward about it.
And Tullis, of course, the full interview with Mary Trump will be on ENCA at 8:30 tonight on So What Now. So make sure you do catch the rest of that interview, some explosive revelations from Donald Trump's niece. Tullis?
Yeah, Michael, firstly, I think the picture you used of Trump, you should have removed the mask. I think he would much, much more prefer that. Secondly, Boris Johnson, I recently heard something about how he deliberately messes up his hair ahead of interviews and public appearances to sort of engender this bloke, this ordinary bloke that you would meet and interact with. It's a story that a few journalists have been saying that actually that's what it does. So he looks that way because he wants to look that way. Talk to me about the economy, though.
Yeah.
How does that figure and factor in as far as the confidence that the leader enjoys in the United States?
So exactly, to this, you might say, well, presidents come and go, leaders come and go. America, at the end of the day, has the world's biggest economy. Surely that must count for something. But it seems to us that perceptions are starting to shift when it comes to that. Let's focus very quickly on that aspect of this. So the same survey to us actually asked people, who is the world's leading economic power? Who do you see as the leader in terms of economic strength? In the past, Tulis, it has been very much the US, but we've seen that change over the last few years. Roughly about a third of people said the United States is the world's leading economic power. And get this, Tulis, almost 50% said it was actually China. China is the world's financial and economic superpower. So it seems, Tulis, that the US can't simply rely on economic might anymore. It has to set the example in other ways. And it seems Trump and his government have really struggled to do that during the COVID crisis.
Yeah, kind of hard to do that when, you're not even part of the conversations anymore, right? Whether we're talking climate change,
yeah,
you are out of that. WHO, you are pulling out of that. So if we're looking at it not only from the domestic politics of the United States, but the rest of the world politics, they really have been pulling away from the international systems of governance. You can't have dominance.
Yeah, absolutely. His whole tagline was "Make America Great Again," but you'd have to say to us, he'll have to try and make America's image great again, because based on these stats, it's not looking particularly good.
All right, go remove that mask. That is Michael Marillier there, tracking that story around the confidence of the leaders, particularly the United States leader that is